Good morning, security gang, and welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast. My name is James Azar. I'm the host and Chief Information Security Officer. Thank you all for tuning in to the show this morning, Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. A busy show for all of y'all today because we've got a lot to talk about, and it's rolling here in the world of cyber. A China-linked Notepad supply chain hack, the nation-state's breach and shutdown, Panera's 5.1 million account disclosure, a new DynoWiper in the wild. I said it was coming. In fact, we used Notebook LM this morning to check this. So Notebook LM has said that I've been talking about wiper malware since 2023, February 2023 to be exact. I've mentioned it 27 times in said time frame. So just don't want to say I'm right, but I've got an eye for the future. I'm kidding. I'm joking, but just want to bring that out there. Then we're going to hit poison developer packages, a fresh APT28 0-day, Glassworm targeting macOS via OpenVSX, coordinated Russian crews eyeing Denmark, and Chinese hunters SSO abuse playbook, as well as an FCC's warning to U.S. telcos. All of that on today's show. So if you're not ready, it's 9 a.m. Eastern. Right now, I know 2 a.m. Eastern. And at this time, I would urge you to grab whatever beverage powers you through the day. For me, it's a lovely double espresso. And as you can see here, foam right there. These mugs are handmade here in these great United States by a very talented artist in California. They're absolutely magnificent. For those in Georgia, you can find this collection at Avalon and Alpharetta. There's a store right next to NFA Burger. I forgot the name of it, but they've got this collection there. Absolutely fantastic. Double espresso, coffee cup. Cheers, y'all. Fantastic. I love this mug, and I love a good espresso in it. All right. The reason I say this is crazy, but I kind of want to give you context for a little bit before we get into the story here. And remember, show's 15 minutes, so we're going to power through it, but I want to give you some context. There's a geopolitical battle happening between Russia, China, and the United States. The EU, bystanders. Bystanders to this. Absolute bystanders. India, bystanders. Everyone else, pawns in this three-way chess match. And the chess match is over control, economy, and military might, as well as influence globally. We're going to see that today on the show. And in the end, I'll bring it all together. Let's start with this one. So Notepad++ has a supply chain attack that's being attributed to China. And investigators are saying a Chinese threat group piggybacked a hosting provider used in Notepad software pipeline to push a Trojanized update, kind of a trust injection, one would argue, at the distribution layer. The point wasn't noisy crypto mining. It was quiet persistence and credential collection at scale via a tool users don't even question. How many of you question Notepad++? Very few. Right? Kevin Beaumont reported this in early December. That a handful of organizations were being done by it. Notepad++ creator and maintainer Don Hu has made public the results of the investigation conducted in collaboration with those folks. Well, here's the thing. Attacker-controlled updates that inherit code signing trust to reach thousands of endpoints, that's SolarWinds at scale. That's SolarWinds no longer being rare. So SolarWinds, December of 2020, we all thought was the end-all, be-all, supply chain attacks, S-bombs. Folks were trying to kind of deal with it. None of it really held. Now, we see this become the norm, the absolute norm. So how do you mitigate this? You got to gate every third-party update through some sort of internal code signing and SBOM verification step before it's allowed to staged on your managed machines. You have to set that up. You've got to sandbox it. But here's the thing. Even if you did that here, I'm not sure you would have picked it up. Sorry, my nose, like the weather here it's gotten me a little under. So for those watching and you see me, like, I don't have any, like, it's itchy. I feel like a bunny. Um, can't explain it. It's the dryness potentially. So anyways, going back to this, you may have not even picked this up. Notepad is migrating to a new hosting provider given this specific breach here, but nonetheless, this one is significant. So nation states, for those who don't know, a multiplayer browser-based game has been shut down due to a data breach. So the political simulation platform confirming a data breach and took the site offline, exposing forums and account data can fuel password reuse and even targeted harassment. Don't shrug because it's just a game. Lots of employees reuse handles and emails. So you could be dealing with the fallout of this one. The attack apparently happened on January 27th around 10 p.m. UTC. They received a report from a player who discovered a critical vulnerability in the application code. And while testing the bug, the player exceeded authorized boundaries, again, remote code execution on the main production server, allowing him to copy the application code and user data to his own system. So that's where the breach kind of took place. They're saying the player did not gain entry to the server holding Telegram's data, but did exploit it. So there's that. In the meantime, nation state has reported the incident to government authorities. It's focusing on rebuilding its production server on new hardware. Riskier is credential stuffing into corporate SaaS and even social engineering that mimics employees' forum personas. Mitigating this one, run a forced SSO session refresh and nudge staff to rotate any passwords shared with hobby sites. Monitor for logins from new ASNs on high-risk apps. Bring that all together, and you should build some resilience there as well. Panera, well, they had a data breach a little while ago. Well, now we know it's not 14 million people, but rather 5.1 million people. The bakery chain expanded its disclosure to roughly 5.1 million impacted accounts with contact details and loyalty data at risk. You can expect real phishing attacks with real order history, password resets, and even fake rewards. And again, you're going to be looking at brand spoofed scam against your workforce on this one, and even executives if they order from Panera. You want to add Panera keyword lookalikes detection to your secure email gateway for 60 days and auto quarantine messages that mix brand terms with credential or payment request to make sure you build some resiliencies there so this breach doesn't end up in your corporate environment as well. And again, this breach being attributed to shiny hunters. So there's that. All right, let's get into this data wiping malware, folks, because like I said, 27 times since 23 that I've spoken about, since 2023, I've spoken about this. This new wiper family is being observed, clearing event logs, corrupting file systems, and even overriding key sectors to complicate recovery. The behavior is aligned with destructive ops and ransom by wiper hybrids. The riskier is business interruption where backups exist, but recovery time still kills revenue. To keep mitigation here, keep offline immutable recovery points and rehearse a wiper grade restore that includes directory services and licensed servers, not just databases. That is going to be significant. The Russians have been using this playbook. And again, remember how I talked about there's a three-way chess match happening. We'll talk about that in just a minute here. But this is the Russian view of this one, folks. All right. If you've lived under a rock, ClawHub, OpenClaw, Moltbook, you name it, 341 malicious packages were discovered in the developer supply chain. Researchers flagged hundreds of ClawHub packages seeded with stealers and even post-install beacons, name squatting reputable libs to catch typos, key risk here, a single NPM or pip mistake on a dev box leaks tokens and signs malicious builds, enforce a private package proxy that mirrors only vetted versions, and block any direct installs from public registries on corporate endpoints. That'll help there as well, getting this one taken care of. Let's move to the Russians. Their playbook's not there, but APT28 has been exploiting a new CVE 2026-21509, or that's an initial access. Reporting ties APT28 to an exploitation of a fresh zero-day for footholds in Western targets, delivered via spearfish and living off the land for lateral movement with this one. So APT28 is Fancy Bear. For those who don't know, they're using the Microsoft zero-day, and within the first 24 hours of disclosure, they started targeting government agencies with malicious documents delivering the covenant framework backdoors. Ukraine's CERT detected exploitation attempts that began on January 27th, just one day after Microsoft published those details. And again, they're scanning within 20 minutes, they're building an exploit within 24, and they're on the move, whether Russia or anyone else. That's the timeline. The key risk here is stealthy domain footholds that blends into your admin tooling. Mitigating these risks, you should enable constrained PowerShell plus script block logging and alert on first-time admin use by non-IT accounts. That'll help let you know that they're in your environment. Sticking with Russia, a newly formed Russian hacker alliance is targeting the country of Denmark. Oh, Denmark, you are just the redheaded stepchild getting beat up by every side. You just can't win this one, folks. Can you? Multiple Russia-aligned crews are coordinating probes against Danish infrastructure and government-adjacent networks. Part of influence, part of access prep. The key risks spill over to Danish subsidiaries and suppliers that link into your EU footprint. To mitigate against this one, temporarily tighten your geo-based access controls for Danish tenants, VPNs, and require a hardware key MFA for any privileged access originating from outside the EU. That'll give you some resiliency in dealing with this threat. And we're going to bring this all together here in just a minute, folks. Just a minute. All right, let's talk about this Glassworm returning. The Mac OS is getting hit via compromised OpenVSX extensions, and this is where devs are getting burnt. Attackers are pushing tainted VS Code compatible extensions to OpenVSX, roping macOS developers into token theft and even second stage payloads. The risk here: get cloud and package registry credentials lifted from developer machines and workstations. To mitigate it, lock your IDEs to a curated signed extension allow list, and you should rotate developer PATs and OAuth tokens if any suspected extensions were installed all together there. Let's talk about Mandiant for a second. So Mandiant says a wave of recent shiny hunters abuse of SSO to steal cloud data, and they're sharing some of the technique focus. Fresh analysis is showing the crew leaning on token replays where OAuth consent abuse and session hijack to bypass MFA and vacuum cloud data. The move is away from passwords and towards tokens that feel invisible but are really, really visible. The risk here is durable access via malicious OAuth apps and even refresh tokens. To mitigate this one, roll out continuous access evaluation and auto-revoke unused refresh tokens. Require admin consent workflow for any new enterprise apps. That'll help mitigate some of their playbook. And the FCC warning U.S. telecoms of a ransomware and policy signal here. The FCC issuing guidance pressing carriers on preparedness, segmentation of core functions, and rapid customer notification. Expect downstream audits, higher expectations for resilience. The risk here being a carrier-side outage that silently breaks your MFA, SMS, SIP trunks, or even your IoT backhauls. To mitigate, document, and test telecom redundancies, second carrier failovers for MFA voice, and a non-SIP out-of-band path for incident coordination. Now, let me bring this full picture together, folks. Let me bring it all together. So we've talked about China, we've talked about Russia, and we obviously talked about the US. And here's the triangle that's taking place right now in this three-way chess match. Russia, as it's kind of seeing the end of its war with Ukraine come to an end. And why is that? When we took Maduro out of Venezuela, we essentially stopped a few things for the Russians. And one of those was the supply of Iran kamikaze drones. So Iran's drones, part of those were being built in Venezuela. Essentially, when we took Maduro out and the control we have around Venezuela at the moment through the maritime blockade, and any ship that leaves is getting inspected by the U.S., we've discontinued that. Now, Iran, for their end, are now slipping. Obviously, the country's in turmoil. We've got an entire armada off Iran. Russia is seeing Venezuela and Iran, two proxies. China and Russia are seeing their two big proxies, one in the Middle East and one in the Northern Hemisphere, kind of get taken off the battlefield altogether right now. And so they're trying to rehash this. And the way they're going to rehash this is wiper malware or on organizations. Economic damage, the hope of economic damage leading up to the 2026 midterms, and then 2028 presidential election is the Trump economy doesn't really take off. Businesses suffer losses, leads to, kind of a slower economic recovery from the Biden years. And as such, it's leverage in negotiations with Trump where they can put a stop to it and whatnot. And that's kind of the path here. And again, it's a three-way chess game between China, Russia, and the US. We as practitioners are in the middle of it. We are. But this chess game requires resiliency, requires understanding of what you're dealing with, and the going in there to actually be able to recover from these types of incidents. You're not going to be able to stop them when the Chinese or Russians come at you, but you have to be able to be resilient enough to stop the attack, mitigate it, move forward. That's going to be critical. That's it for our show this morning. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to check out cyberhubpodcast.com. Infiltrated from within, our story of how the North Korean IT workers have infiltrated us. But not only that, external workforce, contractors, the insider threats. We talked about it yesterday on the show. A Google engineer selling trade secrets of AI to China. All of that infiltrated from within. How do we start picking up the pieces and address insider threat? Thank you all for tuning in. Go check it out at cyberhubpodcast.com. Share, like, comment. Let me know your opinion on the 3D chess match happening between China, Russia, and the U.S. in the comments, either on our website, LinkedIn, YouTube, or anywhere else. Have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.